What's up, fellow hunters? Dr. McKay here, and welcome to my new series that we will analyse and break down each of the 14 different types of weapons in Monster Hunter World. In this series, I will give you a small breakdown of each weapon's unique playstyle and show you how I use them and why I think they are good for the type of playstyle or the monster you may fight. This will be a 14-part series starting with the mighty greatsword, so let's get down to it. So, the greatsword. This beast of a weapon is probably the hardest hitting weapon in the game, with its powerful finishing move. But after using it a lot and learning the different ways to wield it, I feel very confident enough to break down what I think are its strengths and weaknesses, and hopefully give pointers on how to use the greatsword. So let's start with the strengths of the greatsword. Number 1. High damage output. The greatsword has probably the highest damage output of a single hit of any weapon in the game, making quick work of the monsters. I can safely say it's very satisfying to land the finisher move on the head of an unexpected monster. And the number 2 strength is the shoulder tackle. The shoulder tackle is the best way to dodge or counter all monsters' attacks, in my opinion. It does take a bit of practice to learn to time it, but once mastered it becomes the go-to move after missing a strike with the sword. The tackle can also be followed up by a round slash, which if timed correctly can trip or KO the monster. I do suggest any greatsword user master the shoulder tackle to perfect their use of the greatsword. Unfortunately, I can't think of any more strengths on the greatsword apart from maybe the sword block, but it does greatly use up the sharpness on the weapon, as you can see in the footage. So let's talk about the weaknesses of the greatsword. Number 1. Slow movement. So as you could have guessed, the slow speed of the greatsword is one of its biggest drawbacks of using this weapon. The amount of times I have missed the monsters or have been hit by them due to the slow speed of the swings, it is ridiculous. But knowing when you should shoulder tackle will improve this and make the greatsword feel more fluent in the swings, even the miss swings. Weakness number 2. Combo lock. Now this has to be the biggest downside for the weapon in regards to the mechanics of the sword. The amount of times I get stuck in the animation of the combo and cannot roll out the way is infuriating and has carted me many a time. But as far as weaknesses go, it's not all that bad. So there we have it. We have 2 strengths and 2 weaknesses. Oh, that's not too bad, is it? Yeah, the greatsword is all round a really good weapon in my eyes. Yeah, so now they're out the way, I want to now share a few tips to make the using the greatsword better. So firstly, let's start with some decoration skills that will help greatly with the use of the greatsword. Right then, the decorations. As you're probably aware, there are loads of different decorations and it can be pretty confusing on what goes well with what. So here is one of my loadouts, and yes, it is not meta, it is built for my comfort and my playstyle. But for the greatsword, there are a couple must-haves for me, which you may find useful as well. These are Number 1. Critical Draw. The crit draw skill, I think, greatly boosts the power of the greatsword for the playstyle of draw hit sheath tactic. It also helps on those fast monsters as well, having to always sheath to close the gap before you can hit again. The next decoration that goes hand in hand with the critical draw skill is number 2, Quick Sheath. This skill greatly speeds up the speed of sheathing your weapon, making you slightly faster at drawing, then attacking, and then sheathing to close the gap. But this skill is more for ease of life than adding extra attack on the damage. The next skill is number 3, Focus. The focus skill increases the fill rate for charge attacks, making the charge attacks for the greatsword very much better. And with my playstyle of full power hits to the monster's head, I really like this skill for my loadout. So these 3 skills are my preferred skills to have on the greatsword, and you may prefer different skills, and that is fine. This is just my preference, and now we have covered the strengths and the weaknesses, and now the preferred main skills. Let's talk playstyle. So let's talk playstyle. There are loads of different playstyles that many different players use. So to keep this video short, I shall talk about 2 of the playstyles I use with the greatsword. Playstyle number 1, Hit and Run. The hit and run tactic requires both the critical draw skill and the quick sheath skill to be effective. This playstyle I primarily use on quick or small monsters like Rajang. This playstyle does lack sustained DPS, but does give you quick movement around the area, giving you a chance to exploit openings that appear, allowing you to open up your power attacks to deal high damage. This playstyle is best used in a team to make use of strategy. My next playstyle is playstyle number 2, Unrelenting Fury. Now the name, you're probably thinking what I mean by Unrelenting Fury, but this playstyle is basically running at the monster and hitting it with every attack and combo you have. This is my main playstyle, and yes, it does sound like a general playstyle, but the focus of going straight in means high damage at a constant rate, and the only drawback of this strategy is you will take high damage throughout the hunt, meaning that the risk of casting is high. So make sure you have learnt all of the greatsword's abilities, combos, and have studied the monster's movements to help anticipate dodging and to be able to do the tackles at the right time. This playstyle can be used solo or in a team. So there you have it. These are my 2 playstyles, and if anyone has their own unique playstyle, please comment below. I'm always interested in different playstyles. Now let's talk monsters. Now we're on what type of monsters to use the greatsword on. Now to be honest, every weapon in game can be used against every monster, but for the greatsword it struggles against fast, small and flying monsters. So if soloing these types, it does become a challenge. But generally the greatsword is a beast of a weapon against all monsters, and it is easy to use. Which brings us to the final point of this analysis video. What makes the greatsword good? The greatsword has high damage, good blocking, defense, and is easy to use, and can be used against every monster. That is generally what makes the greatsword good. Nothing else, it's just power, and that's it. So that brings us to the end of this video. Can you think of anything else that makes the greatsword good? If so, please leave a comment below, and if you enjoyed the analysis / breakdown of this greatsword, please leave a like to show your support for this channel. Writing and recording this video for you took a long time due to being self-isolating and having 3 children wanting to help me out all the time. It's been a real challenge. This pandemic is scary and a real struggle for many, And I want to say to all, stay safe, wash your hands and stay at home. And remember, we are all in this together. I've been Dr. McKay and I thank you for watching. And as always, happy hunting. Cheers.